Hey everybody, my name is Bobbie Brown and I am doing Adlerian therapy with Erica Velasquez. Um, I'm going to be going back and forth to this computer, which has my PowerPoint on it, the book, and also just again going back and forth. So if you want to follow me with the PowerPoint, I have attached that. If you want to follow me in the book with the book, you can go ahead and do that too. Again, most of everything is right straight from the book, so you'll be able to follow along really well. So first of all, I know you're probably thinking about what Adlerian therapy is. Adlerian therapy is an approach in which a therapist works with a client to identify problems and create effective strategies for working towards goals. Adlerians believe that by gaining insight into challenges, people can overcome feelings of inferiority. So moving forward, I would probably say that I word and just know that I'm talking about inferiority. I can't say that word, y'all. So hope you enjoy our PowerPoint. On page 105, let me just tell you right quick. Sorry. I will stop on page 104 at the therapeutic process, and that will be where Erica picks up and goes until the end of the chapter. So let's talk about the guys who are the guy who thought about this theory. He is Alfred Adler, and he is the younger brother of Sigmund Freud. And we all know about Sigmund Freud. So Alfred grew up in a family with 6 brothers and 1 sister. From a very young age, Alfred knew he wanted to become a doctor. He was the brother of Sigmund Freud. He was pampered by his mother. Adler shaped his own life instead of leaving it to fate. He was an ophthalmologist in general medicine and then eventually specialized in neurology and psychiatry. He was impacted by World War I, and because of that, Adler emphasized on humanism and the need for people to work together. Adler's book, Understanding Human Nature, was the first major psychology books to sell hundreds and thousands of copies in the United States. After serving in World War I as a medical officer, he created 32 child guidance clinics in Vienna public schools and began training teachers, social workers, and psychologists, physicians. He pioneered the open forum of what we call today family counseling. In the mid-1920s, he started lecturing in the U.S., and then he passed away in 1937 of heart failure. His friends and everybody was trying to tell him to slow down and take care of himself, and because he was such a focused on work schedule. He had an overcrowded work schedule in his professional life, and he still took some time to sing and enjoy music and be with friends. It says that in the 1920s he began while taking a walk before scheduled lecture in Aberdeen, Scotland, Adler collapsed and died of heart failure. And that was just because he was always on the run. He wouldn't slow down, and he was just living life to the fullest. John D. Carlson was born in 1945. He's still alive today. He is the second author in this book talks about with the Adlerian theory and therapy. And he's the youngest of 4 children. According to Adler, the youngest child strives to belong to the adult world and overachieves. Carlson fit this image to the T. Carlson authored over 60 books. He authored over 300 training videos. Has 60,000 hours of clinical practice, which I thought was pretty cool. He earned 2 doctoral degrees in counseling and psychology. Today he holds the position of Distinguished Professor of Adlerian Psychology at Adlerian University in Chicago. He believes professional counselors should be models of mental health and authentic in all they do in and out of the counseling room. I happen to agree with that. I believe you are what you do. James Robertson Bitter was born in 1947. He also is still alive today. He actually helped write this chapter in our book. He grew up in Wenatchee, Washington. He was adopted. He has a master's doctorate degree from Idaho State University. He wrote books, theory and practice of family therapy and counseling, and he believes in the Adlerian therapy. Okay. These are the key concepts of Chapter 5. View of human nature. So, human nature is described as, well, this is what it's described as in this book. When we think about human nature, we think about everybody in the world. Or I did when I thought about human nature. I was like, oh, human nature, humanistic nature. So, but Adler believed that individuals began to form an approach to life in their first 6 years of living. He focused on the person's past and perceived in the present and how an individual interpretation of early events continue to influence the person's present behavior. According to Adler, humans are motivated primarily by social relatedness rather than by sexual urges. Behavior is purposeful and goal-directed, and consciousness more than unconsciousness of the focus of therapy. So what you're going to find out as we continue to go further is whenever you think about Sigmund Freud, you think about that ID, ego, superego. You think about the oral fixations that he talks about. Everything was sexually urged. Everything was, and at the end of it, it had something to do with the sexual part of what humans were. What you're going to find out about Adler is that he's going to try, and it even talks about it in the book, he's going to try and desensitize and put away those thoughts of id, ego, and superego that Freud has always talked about. So that's why he's saying that rather than by sexual urges, humans are motivated by behavior. The behavior is goal-oriented, conscious. You know, Freud had a lot to do with the unconsciousness of things, and Adler is saying that we are very conscious of our behavior and what's going on in our world around us. Subjective perception of reality. This pays attention to the individual way in which people perceive the world, referred to as subjective reality, including the individual perceptions, thoughts, feelings, values, beliefs, convictions, and conclusions. It says that behaviors are understood from the vantage point of this subjective perspective. From the Adlerian perspective, objective reality is less important than how we interpret reality and the meaning we attach to the experience. So we want to attach a meaning to whatever we're going through in life instead of having it already preconceived as what everybody else thinks it is. Adlerian's theory is that we perceive what it is. Unity and patterns of human personality. Adler chose the name individual psychology for his theoretical approach because he wanted to avoid his brother Freud's reductionist divisions such as ego, ID, and superego. Adler emphasized the unity of invisibility of the person and stressed understanding the whole person in the context of his or her life. How all dimensions of a person are interconnected components. One thing happens because one thing happens, and it keeps going. One thing happens, and then you have a reaction, action, reaction, action, reaction. And how all these components are unified by the individual's movement towards their life goals. Behaviors as purposeful and goal-oriented. Individual psychology assumes that all human behavior has a purpose, and this purposefulness is the cornerstone of Adler's theory. A basic assumption of individual psychology is that we only think, feel, and act in relation to our goal. We can only be understood only in light of knowing the purposes of goals toward which we are striving. So what are you working for, and why are you working for it? Striving for significance and superiority. I might can say that word, superiority. Adler stresses that the recognition of that I word, feelings, and the consequent striving for perfection or mastery are innate. They are two sides of the same coin. He says on page 100 that very early in life we begin to envision what we might be like if we were successful, complete, whole, or perfect. Applied to human motivation, a guiding self-idea might be expressed in this way. Only when I am perfect can I be secure, or only when I am important can I be accepted. The guiding self-idea represents an individual's image of a goal of perfection, for which he or she strives in any given situation. Because of our subjective final goal, we have the creative power to choose what we will accept as truth, how we will behave, and how it will interpret events. The Adlerian theory says that I have purpose. And my purpose in the end is what I put into my purpose. I kind of think, like sometimes when I think about what we're doing right now in school, I think about our purpose is graduation. Our purpose is being a social worker. So whatever we put into being a social worker, what we put in is what we get out. So if we put in half but work, we get out half but results. So there we go. Striving for significance and superiority. From our earliest years, we need adults to care for us, but this is not a negative factor in life. According to Adler, the moment we experience the I word, we are pulled by the striving for superiority. For example, when the toddler learns to walk or grab a crayon, there's often an accompanied triumph smile or shout. When a baby picks up a ball for the first time, or when he says mama for the first time, or when he walks for the first time, we congratulate them and we encourage them to do it again. The victory over the I word is a step on the path of striving for superiority. Adler maintained the goal of success pulls people forward towards mastery and then enables them to overcome obstacles. The goal of superiority contributes to the development of human community. However, it is important to note that superiority, as used by Adler, does not necessarily mean superiority over others. Rather, it means improving from a perceived lower or minus position to a perceived better or plus position in relations to oneself. People cope with feelings and hopelessness by striving for competence, self-mastery, and perfection. Lifestyle. Lifestyle is defined as describing our perceptions regarding self, others, and the world. Includes the connecting themes and rules of interaction that gives meaning to actions. It is the characteristic way that we act, feel, and perceive life. Adler saw us as actors, creators, and artists. Understanding one's lifestyle is someone like understanding the lifestyle of a composer. We can begin wherever we choose. Every expression will lead us in the same direction toward one motive. The only melody around the personality is built. Social interest and community feeling. Social interest and community feeling are probably Adler's most significant distinctive concepts. These terms refer to individuals' awareness of being a part of a human community and the individual's attention to dealing with the social world. Social interest is the action line of one's community feeling, and it involves being connected about others on is about self. Community feeling embodies the feeling of being connected to all of humanity past, present, and future, and to be involved in making the world a better place. Adler was all about making the world a better place. The life tasks. So, this is page 102. Adler taught that we must successfully master 3 universal life tasks. Those 3 life tasks are building friendships, which is a social task, establishing intimacy, which is marriage and a love marriage task, and then contributing to society, so occupational tasks. Each of these tasks require the development of psychological capacities for friendship and belonging, for contribution and self-worth, and for cooperation. These basic life tasks are so fundamental that impairment in any one of them is often an indicator of psychological disorder. One personality is the result of stances we have taken in relation to life we face. More often than not, when people seek therapy, it's because they are struggling unnecessarily to meet one of these life tasks. The aim of therapy is to encourage clients to develop increased social interest and to modify their lifestyle so they can be more effective and so they can more effectively navigate all these life tasks. I thought this was really cool, though, that they mentioned these life tasks, because when you really think about it, you guys, that is our problems right there. Love, other people, and our jobs. So this happens to be my favorite part of this discussion right now, and it's talking about the birth order of relationships. So you're talking about the oldest child to the only child. And it's pretty cool, some of the things that you get to look at and see in the book, that it talks about what the older child does and what the younger child does, their traits, and the way that they view the world. So the Adlerian approach is unique in giving special attention to the relationships between siblings and the psychological birth position in one's family. Adler identified 5 psychological positions or vantage points, for which children are to view life. Oldest, second of only 2, middle, youngest, and only child. The following 5 slides describe the birth order and views of children and the family dynamic. These are pretty cool, y'all. I like these. So I wanted to read another thing from the insert from the book before I move forward on telling you about the oldest child and moving on forward to the only child. Adler observed that many people wonder why children in the same family often differ so widely, and he pointed out that there is a fallacy to assume that children of the same family are formed in the same environment. Although siblings share aspects in common in the family constellation, the psychological situation of each child is different from that of the others due to birth order. The following description of the influence of birth order is based on, I don't know, it's on page 103. I can't say those names. I'm going to butcher them, but it's in the middle of the page before it starts number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. Okay, so here we go. My favorite part of the whole thing is this. So the oldest child is the child that receives a lot of attention. They're spoiled. Older children, you're spoiled. They tend to be hardworking and dependable, and they strive to keep ahead. When the new sibling arrives, there's trouble. When the new sibling arrives, they feel abandoned, and they feel like their favorite position is at risk, like they're going to lose it. 9 times out of 10, they do. They're jealous that their new sibling will get more love and attention than them, and they have a high achievement drive. The second child of only 2. They share attention with the sibling. They're different in the fact that they are trying to meet the expectations of the parents, away from the first child's approach. So they're trying to be different in how they receive love, care, and attention from the parents. They behave as if they are in a race at full speed at all times. They're running. And they feel the need to surpass the older child, the middle child. See, I found it interesting in the book, they talk about the middle child being the peacemaker. A lot of times in our life, we've heard that the middle child is the scapegoat, and sometimes that is true. They feel squeezed out. They feel cheated in life and that life is unfair. They may have a poor me attitude, and this child is the peacemaker in some families. They hold it all together. The youngest child is the baby. That's me. I'm the baby of the family. I'm the pampered one. I'm the spoiled one. And I tend to go a long way and outshine everybody else. I'm an overachiever. The only child is a little bit of everything. They tend to make high achievements. They have high drives in everything. They're very active. They struggle with cooperating with other children. It's because they don't have children around them. So they have to become, they grow up faster, and they're a lot better with adults than they are with children because that's all that they're around. So they learn to talk faster. They learn to interpret things a lot quicker than people who have siblings because that's the only thing that they know. They're pampered by the parents. They want center stage at all times. Selfishness, and they may feel it's unfair to have their position challenged. So I wanted to read just a couple of things too out of the book about younger children. It says that the younger child develops a knack for finding out the elder child's weak spots and proceeds to win praise from both parents and teachers by achieving successes which the older siblings have failed at. Sports, mathematics, things like that. They want to be better than the other. If one is talented in any given area, the other strives to be recognized for developing other abilities. The second-born is often opposite to the firstborn. If there are 4 children in a family, which I found this pretty cool because I have 4 nieces, the second child will often feel like the middle child, and the third will be more easygoing, more social, and may align with the firstborn. The youngest child, because of being pampered or spoiled, he may develop helplessness into an art form and become expert at putting others in his service. And then often the only child is pampered by her parents and may become dependently tied to one or both of them. She may want to have center stage all of the time, and if her position is challenged, she will feel it's unfair. I hope that you guys like my part of this presentation. At this point, go ahead, Erica. I look forward to hearing yours as well. Thank you all. You have a great night, and I will talk to you soon.